My name is Steve McCrary, and I'm part of the leadership team here and basically been acting as general manager for the last 32 years. I met Bill when he moved up from Houston in 1980. We opened a shop kind of out here where we're located now in 91, and then we've been in this location since 2006. But Bill and I have been friends from 1980 on, just running buddies.
Heading out to see the Collings Guitar Factory, something I've always wanted to see. Just have so much respect for the quality that these guys produce.
Doing? Hey, Jimmy. Been a while. Yeah.
How's it going?
Good. I didn't even know guitars were built when I started playing guitar. And it was always a curiosity where they came from. And picked it up and started to do it.
You must have been a serious tinkerer when you were a kid, right?
Yeah. I was always by myself, beaten down, so I had to go play with my stuff or whatever. Yeah.
Being part of Austin live music capital of the world has been very special to me, and Collings being located here I think has been really helpful too, just because of the music association with the city and with Bill. It's been really interesting, and a fun part of the job is getting to meet some of these people we've had, Joe Walsh and Robert Plant in the shop, and lots of artists that aren't quite at that level, but the fun part is getting to know a lot of these people and become personal friends with them. But the genres, they go from one end to the other. Bill built his first instrument. He built a banjo kit and a guitar in '75, and then he built Lyle's first guitar in '78, which Lyle's bought many guitars since then. Lyle Lovett's been a real ambassador for us, and a very loyal and devoted friend to Bill. The tooling that Bill designed, back even in the late '80s, and even when he was in Houston, he was a second floor apartment with a table saw and a bandsaw and his motorcycle. He'd push up the stairs, and he had, forms and molds and stuff. So we still use a lot of stuff that he designed. And of course, with Clint Watson, who's the head of engineering, and his team, they've just expanded and improved on every possible piece of equipment that Bill designed and that we use all day, every day.
I mean, you can't look at any corner of this place without thinking of Bill, really. The guys who worked with Bill and for Bill. I mean, that's all we're trying to do here, is just maintain his legacy. He never wanted us to take any shortcuts, and so we don't, and they're hard to make. But, that was his vision, and we want to maintain his sense of quality. If you wanted to learn, Bill would teach you anything you wanted to know. If he saw that you were willing to go all in for him and for this company, he would take you as far as you wanted to go. And I've always been thankful that, he spent the time with me that he did, because it's been the best experience of my life.
When you make your first guitar, it's the best guitar, right? Then you pick it apart and make it a little better and make it a little better and keep going.
I knew from when I was at guitar school, all the instructors said Collings is the pinnacle of production guitars, and I was an acoustic guitar fanatic and still am. And this is where I wanted to work as soon as I heard that. Then when I got my hands on one, I was like, oh yeah, I gotta learn how they do that. I first met Bill when I started working here, 2001 or so. I was in the neck department and wanted to impress him, so I came in Saturday because I was a little slow, I was new. And that Saturday, he didn't know who I was and asked me to move a bunch of angle iron from outside by the compressor room up to the mandolin room at the old shop. So absolutely thrilled to do it. So I'm moving this up the stairs, trip after trip after trip. And finally, the last bundle of angle iron that I grabbed, he had a stuffed rattlesnake coiled to strike, and he was waiting the whole time, just waiting for me to see it. And I gave him the reaction that he wanted and screamed and jumped away and did all that. And right through the door, he was purple, doubled over laughing. And that was when I really met him.
I shared an office with Bill, and it was very entertaining. My back was to the door, so I had to put a little mirror up on my desk called the Bill Spotter. So he couldn't sneak up behind you, but it was like Never Never Land, you know, and we really didn't have to grow up. It was great.
You cutting wood, Jimmy? That's nice. So this is where we start our process, is right when at the top, and hitting it and wondering about it. Yeah, that's a nice top right there.
Bill had this idea to set up the production cycle with experts. He wanted to have the best neck buffer and the best bridge sander.
That's Sergio. He makes all our bridges, sands them all. How long does it take you to make one?
20 minutes.
20 minutes?
Yeah.
By the time he's done, buff it, really make it right. You know, you can do it in 3 minutes maybe, but it's not going to be a great bridge.
He wanted to have the best guy at every step of a guitar building process. And at the end, if 20, 25 people touch that guitar, even though nobody built that guitar is as good as you can do, or find, or play, whether it's playability or sound or any of that. He wanted the best at everything. And that sort of makes us different from other places, because we don't call it a factory, we call it a shop. And so we're not artists, we're craftsmen. Bill was the artist, which he would kill me for saying that, he's not an artist, but he was a craftsman and held craftsmanship in the highest regard. And that's what we're trying to continue here.
We're not making the same guitar over and over. So even this, see these necks, they're all different necks. And you'd think you had the pile of the same ones, it'd probably be more efficient. But this way we make what we need.
We make a ton of stuff. We make our own plywood, for example, for the electric stuff, and we do certain layers, and every model has its own recipe for the top and the outer pieces and the inner cores to the pieces of plywood that we make and press. We make all our own bracing, we make bridges and pick guards.
We do as much machine work as we can. We use machines to increase our productivity and efficiency, but if these things were totally made by machine, they'd have no soul to them. And so the machines get us 80% of the way. We couldn't hit anywhere near the numbers that we do, which aren't huge numbers without the machines, but it takes a human being's hands to tie all those things together. There is no quality control here. It starts at the very beginning in the building, and it even extends out to our vendors. So if I'm ordering spruce, we have a deal with our vendors that I'm gonna expect that spruce, and if I don't like it, I'm gonna send it back. It's something that's baked into our culture and expected, and as a result, we haven't had a wrong nut line, a wrong veneer. It keeps egos under control, and it keeps callings.
It's all the detail that makes it work.
Man, you guys are good. That is really beautiful.
It's our craft, it's what we do. We don't want to just do the same old thing and be bored with it. We want to grow. I mean, that's the fun part.
We have some old timers around here that we bounce stuff off of each other. There's Nully and Aaron we all work together when developing new products, and we show each other, you know, and there'll be a concept, I'll draw something. And so it's just a constant back and forth between me and the guys that, you know, knew Bill best.
Well, I'm really excited about all the work we've done in the last 2 or 3 years on our electrics. We've got a number of prototypes that went over really well at NAMM last year in Anaheim, and we had a bunch of the major social media influencers just hanging out in our booth for hours and hours, just kind of playing these new guitars and stuff, which is really exciting to kind of have that sort of approval and acceptance.
A Collings guitar has a very clear unity, a sense of continuity across it in form and sound and feel and substance. And I think that as we encounter them in the shop and out in the world, they do the work all by themselves. You don't have to sell them.
Collings was always known for this kind of bright, loud attack and sound. And we've been kind of working on things to maybe not get away from that, but adding some things to that. We started a traditional series in 2014. People are really excited about the old Collings stuff in addition to the new Collings stuff, and that's been really exciting.
What I hope someone in the store sees when they see Collings on the headstock is my crew and the amount of care, the attention to detail. We have special lights so we can see scratches that you would never see. We clean up glue where you would never be able to see. We sweat every detail here. And that in itself isn't important, but it's the mindset of doing that that keeps that quality and keeps us honest. And hopefully when they see Collings, they know that that's going to be a great guitar.
Without strings, it'd be like a car with no tires. Wouldn't go nowhere. Something happened in the last 25 years to me, and the quality of strings, we don't find those dead batches of those dead strings. Now, we've been using Jimmy strings for this last 25 years too, so maybe that's part
Hopefully it has something to do with it, right?
Yeah, I would think. But D'Addario is the only company that I know of that has actually worked at catering to us and supplying stuff that would really work. They're always on the leading edge of making a better product. So it means a lot.
So as far as our long love affair with D'Addario strings, we were using D'Addario when I started here. When you have something that has worked for you for so long, and that you also have relationships with the people that that design and build and produce them, that goes a long way with us. I know how much has gone into the factory up there and how many innovations they've made over the years, and I'm very aware of all they're doing, and they're like us, just always trying to up themselves, and just like what we do here, just next guitar should be better than the last one.
That's the only string we use. They tell us, whether we've succeeded or not.
We think about all the beautiful different types of cars, and all these people do all this work, but what's the one thing that makes it functional is a tire. We can use all of these different woods, designs, simple, complex, and at the end of the day, we got to activate them. We got to make them work. We have to make them resonate. And so in this case, these strings are our tires and keeps us with the traction we need to make the music we need to make.
For flat tops, we're using the EJ 16s and 17s, the 12s and 13s. We love them.
We do also use nickel bronze on certain, like Julian Lage on his acoustic signature model, wanted the nickel bronze. And a number of guys will put that on their guitars because it's maybe not quite as bright, but still they're very powerful and punchy. And then the NYXLs and the electrics we've been using for a long, long time.
We've been using them since I started, and we'll never change. They're consistent, they sound great, they're reliable. They're part of the ultimate sound of these guitars. And that consistency helps these things maintain their consistency. We love them. Bill was bigger than life, and we can still sit in a meeting and know what Bill would have thought about whatever we're discussing or whatever we're talking about. And so we are sort of the representatives of that mindset to the young guys who never met him, who've only heard stories about him or seen the guitars. The nicest compliment I get is when people say, "Oh man, Bill would love this." Bob Taylor just said that to us in Chicago. We're releasing a new line of guitars, and Bill didn't have any part of that design. He had everything to do with the design. It's a Collings, and he's the one that taught all of us. But Bob Taylor came by the booth and played him, and it was like, "Man, Bill would love this, and it's so cool that you guys are doing this," because that's a Collings that isn't.